A harsh, cold wind sweeps across southern Ukraine, but it is not the only chill in the air. Overnight, a wave of airstrikes and drone attacks struck deep, not at frontline trenches, but at the infrastructure that keeps homes alive. In the port city of Odesa, an energy facility was struck. Authorities say flames erupted inside, windows shattered, and nearby residential buildings and vehicles took damage. Several civilians were injured, including children. The city's tram lines ground to a halt, water, transit and basic services all froze along with the lights. Eastward, in the frontline city of Kherson, destruction was even more profound. A major heat and power plant, the kind that serves hundreds of thousands, was knocked offline. The official tally from regional authorities, over 40,000 customers left without heating, just as winter closes in. Meanwhile, the energy firm covering Odesa confirmed that more than 51,800 households were plunged into darkness. In the embattled Donetsk region further east, nearly 60,000 residents also faced blackouts. In many Ukrainian cities the blackout wasn't a short glitch. This appears to be a deliberate strategy: cut power, cut heat, cut morale. The civilian toll is mounting. As millions brace for sub-zero nights, families huddle in cold apartments, hospitals rely on backup generators, and emergency services scramble to respond. These attacks are not new. For months now, energy infrastructure has been a primary target. What has changed is the intensity and the stakes. With every strike, entire districts are thrown into darkness, public transport collapses, water and heating shut down. This is not collateral damage. This appears to be calculated targeting of civilian life. Yet Moscow's aggression no longer stops at hitting power lines. Recent weeks have seen renewed strikes across key regions, combining drone assaults with long-range missiles. The result: rolling blackouts, fires, destroyed substations, and a national energy system under sustained attack. The pattern is chillingly clear. As winter bites, Russia's war machine is weaponizing cold and darkness against millions of ordinary Ukrainians. But beyond the human cost, there is a strategic logic. By crippling power and heating, Russia isn't just attacking infrastructure, it is attacking Ukraine's will to resist. A nation left shivering, in the dark, dependent on backups and external aid. The message is stark: endure, or break. In Kyiv, plans have already been drawn up to ramp up electricity imports from neighboring countries. As Kyiv's supply lines strain under ferocious bombardment, its leaders scramble to keep the lights on, not just to warm homes, but to maintain hope. As this brutal winter campaign rolls on, the war is no longer only fought with guns, drones, missiles. It is being fought in the cold, in empty rooms, in darkened homes. And each blackout carries weight beyond kilowatts lost. It carries fear, despair, pressure. For civilians, for the government, for Ukraine's resolve itself. Power crews racing against time. Generators humming in darkened hospitals. Citizens clutching blankets in freezing apartments. Across Ukraine, the nightly quiet is shattered, but what began as blackout is turning into a full-blown crisis of survival. In the battered southern regions, engineers from DTEK, Ukraine's largest private energy company, have become frontline workers in a war on cold. Despite relentless shelling and drone barrages, they navigate shattered substations and smoldering ruins, often under fire, to reconnect lines that were ripped apart barely hours before. Their efforts are harrowing. In some municipalities, crews have already risked their lives traversing frontline zones to replace transformers destroyed in strikes, under the constant threat of renewed attack. Yet their work is only a fragile patch on a system falling apart. Meanwhile, in the east and south, regions where winters bite hardest, clinics and care homes run on backup diesel generators. Ambulance dispatches depend on flickering light. Surgical wards burn fuel at a shocking rate just to keep essentials alive. Residents describe a world where cold, darkness and fear have replaced normal life. Journalists walking through bomb-scarred streets report empty playgrounds, silent trams, darkened shop windows, a ghost town ambience in places once bustling. This campaign is no longer simply tactical, it has become existential. By cutting power and heating across wide swathes of civilian territory, the strikes inflict more than physical damage, they erode morale. Families run down stockpiles of firewood and diesel, queues for communal, invincibility points, shelters where people can charge their phones or warm up, stretch long into the nights. Local officials warn that if blackouts persist for a week or more, water supply and sewage systems could fail next. For strategic analysts watching from European capitals and Washington, the message is clear: the war has shifted gears. No longer confined to the front lines, the battlefield now lies deep behind, among ordinary civilians. Disabling the power grid weakens Ukraine's capacity to sustain defense, to maintain civilian morale, and to survive winter. As one senior energy sector official put it, the grid is being treated as a weapon. In Kyiv, pressure is mounting. Foreign allies are scrambling to supply emergency energy equipment and backup generators, but logistics are already strained. Transport lines disrupted by repeated attacks make delivery hazardous. Meanwhile, the government is urging citizens to conserve power, but with winter's deepening cold and dawn arriving late, such measures offer little comfort. Across the south, many who once believed in a quick end to the war now brace for a long, grueling winter of endurance. The hum of generator motors has become the new lullaby. But for how long can cold and candles substitute for electricity and heat? Amid the darkness, resistance takes new forms. Communities organize local watch lists, reporting new damage, distributing wood, pooling generator fuel. Volunteers deliver supplies through roads scarred by explosions. In these acts of solidarity, Ukraine's survival instinct pulses. Yet deep down, the question echoes: can this hold under repeated night after night of blackout, bombings, and bone-chilling winter nights? This is not just war. This is survival. The power has been cut, but so far, the will to endure remains. A new horizon of danger is rising. The war against Ukraine's power grid has entered a perilous new chapter, and its consequences may reshape not just the winter, but the future of the conflict itself. Across Kyiv, Odesa, Kherson, and the battered eastern regions, emergency services are now scrambling under conditions rarely seen in wartime. Reports confirm that heating and power plants targeted by the strikes had supplied whole districts, entire communities, with electricity, heat, water, and sometimes even basic services such as sewage or public transport. Without electricity, water pumps stall, wastewater systems falter. Without heat, whole apartment blocks risk freezing. In many towns, hospitals resort to diesel generators, working under dim, flickering lights, while vulnerable patients, the elderly, the sick, children, wait under thin blankets for warmth that may never come. Observers within Ukraine's energy sector warn, this isn't simply damage. The assault has shredded a substantial portion of the country's centralized energy infrastructure: power stations, substations, transmission lines, heating networks, critical not only for civilian life but for the wartime economy itself. Analysts point out that in recent months multiple thermal and hydroelectric power plants, along with dozens of distribution substations, have been struck repeatedly. The pattern is systematic and ruthless. What remains standing now takes fragile, temporary blows. Entire coalitions of civic resilience, hospitals, social services, civilian shelters, teeter on the brink of collapse. On the front line of this shadow war stand the engineers and technicians, brave men and women from companies like DTK, racing from one bombed-out substation to another, trying to reconnect broken circuits, reroute power, restart generators, and sometimes salvage what is left under threat of renewed missile or drone attacks. Their mission is grim, their success uncertain. These are not combat troops. They are civilians running headfirst into danger to keep lights on, water flowing, heat running. Their struggle is a stark testament to Ukraine's refusal to bow. At the same time, political pressure is mounting. The governments in Kyiv and across allied capitals recognize the stakes. If this winter turns into a humanitarian disaster, the war won't just weaken Ukraine's infrastructure, it could fracture its social cohesion, its will to resist, its very heartbeat. Foreign partners scramble to send generators, spare parts, fuel, but supplies are thin, transport vulnerable, logistics chaotic as rail lines and roads continue suffering from repeated strikes. Even when aid arrives, distribution is dangerous, slow, and often insufficient. The broader war economic impact looms large. Factories can't run, public transport grinds to a halt, communications falter, and basic commerce is severely disrupted. More than that, the assault on energy is also an assault on morale. In towns where the lights, heat, and warmth vanish, fear seeps in. Citizens whisper not only of bombs overhead, but of long nights, freezing apartments, uncertain winter ahead. In a country already scarred by frontline combat, this kind of winter could be its most brutal front yet. Yet amid the darkness, resilience endures. Local communities organize, distributing wood, pooling fuel, volunteering to guard shared generators, caring for vulnerable neighbors. Clinics improvise, teachers lead makeshift warm-up shelters, volunteers run errands across bomb-scarred roads. The struggle is exhausting, despairing, but it also speaks to something deeper, a determination to survive, to endure, to resist, not just bullets and bombs, but cold, hunger, and fear. In this brutal winter campaign, the battlefield has shifted, from trenches and front lines to the rooms where families try to stay warm, to the corridors where hospitals fight to keep patients alive, to the streets where volunteers deliver hope in jerrycans of fuel. The war has become silent in a different way, not just the roar of missiles, but the hush of lights gone out. How long Ukraine can hold in this darkness is uncertain. The weapons may be drones and missiles, but the casualties will be measured in cold nights, broken infrastructure, and frayed hopes. Subscribe to stay up to date.